Tonight, as you settle in and prepare for rest, you're about to embark on a journey unlike any other. Not across oceans or continents, but deep into the wisdom of ancient Buddhist teachings that have brought peace to troubled minds for thousands of years. This is not just a lesson to be learned, but an experience to be lived. As your breathing slows and your body relaxes, allow yourself to be transported to a place where time moves differently, where every moment holds profound meaning, and where each experience, even the difficult ones, carries purpose. Let go of the day's worries. Release the tension in your body. For the next few hours, you'll discover why Zen Buddhism teaches that everything, absolutely everything, happens for a reason. Welcome to Zen Buddhism for Sleep. Your journey begins now. The soft chime of a distant bell reverberates through the stillness of the night. Slowly, you open your eyes to find yourself in a small room, a simple wooden structure nestled in the heart of a tranquil temple. The faint scent of incense lingers in the air, mingling with the crisp, cool mountain breeze that gently sweeps through open windows. The peaceful surroundings invite you to settle deeper into the quiet of the night. In the center of the room, a single flickering candle casts a soft glow, illuminating the serene figure of an elder monk. He is seated on a cushion across from you, his presence calm and steady, as though he is a living embodiment of the peace the temple promises. The walls are adorned with minimalist artwork, each piece evoking a sense of timelessness and impermanence. The monk's voice breaks the silence. His tone is gentle but firm, like the wind that blows through the trees without hesitation. You seek to understand why your life seems filled with challenges that feel meaningless. He says, his words slowly wrapping around you like a warm embrace. But what if I told you that in Zen Buddhism, nothing happens by chance? Everything occurs for a reason, guided by the natural flow of cause and effect. As you sit on your cushion, the stillness in the room deepens, allowing the weight of his words to settle within you. You breathe in deeply, inhaling the quiet wisdom of the temple. A thought begins to form in your mind, but before you can give it shape, the monk speaks again. Everything in life is in motion, constantly shifting, constantly changing. Just like your breath, each inhale and exhale is a fleeting moment, vanishing as soon as it arrives. This is impermanence. He gestures toward the window, where the early morning light is beginning to filter in, casting long shadows across the wooden floor. The river you crossed to get here, the water that flows beneath your feet, it is never the same from one moment to the next. And yet, the river itself continues, unchanged in its path. Your gaze follows the monks, and you notice how the sunlight creates small clouds of dust in the air, which appear and then vanish with each breath you take. It's a simple, almost imperceptible thing, but in this moment, it feels like the very essence of life itself. Your mind is like this river. The monk continues. It flows constantly, never the same. Each thought, each memory, each sensation is a drop of water, appearing for a moment and then disappearing. You cannot grasp onto it, but you can observe it. This is the beginning of understanding. You sit quietly, absorbing his words. A sense of peace settles over you as your mind begins to quiet. The sounds of the temple, the rustling of leaves, the distant call of birds blend into the soft rhythm of your breathing. The monk's smile is a reminder that this peace is always available. If only you choose to embrace it. You are here because you are seeking meaning in the chaos of your life. The monk says softly, his eyes steady and unwavering. But when we understand that everything happens for a reason, we stop fighting against the flow. We accept that life is in constant motion and that everything, from the smallest pebble to the vast sky, plays a role in the unfolding of the world. He pauses, letting the silence sink in. The path of Zen is not about seeking an escape from life, but about learning to be present with what is, to experience each moment as it is, without judgment, without attachment. This, too, is part of the great flow of existence. As he finishes speaking, a sense of stillness envelops the room. You feel your heart soften, your body relax, and your mind begin to settle into the present moment. The journey has just begun, and yet already it feels like you've arrived at a truth that has been with you all along. The light in the room grows softer as the monk rises and gestures for you to follow him. You leave the room, stepping into a long corridor that winds through the heart of the temple. The cool stone floor beneath your feet is worn smooth with the passage of countless monks and travelers, each leaving their own subtle imprint on this place of peace. The air in the corridor is filled with the scent of pine and incense, blending with the faint smell of morning dew from the outside world. Sunlight filters through the paper windows, casting delicate patterns on the floor, shifting with each moment as though the very light is alive, moving, breathing. Everything around you seems to be in constant motion, yet everything remains still in its place, timeless and unchanging. The monk walks ahead of you, his step slow and deliberate, but full of purpose. His robes sway gently with each movement, his every gesture exuding a quiet confidence born from years of meditation and practice. You follow him through a set of sliding doors, into a small courtyard garden. Here, the garden stretches out before you, a carefully cultivated space where nature and human effort meet in perfect harmony. The path is lined with rocks and small, carefully placed trees, each one a symbol of patience and care. A small stream winds its way through the center of the garden, its soft gurgling filling the air with a soothing, almost hypnotic rhythm. The monk stops at the edge of the stream, inviting you to sit beside him on a large stone. As you settle into place, the tranquility of the garden seems to settle within you as well, filling your body and mind with a sense of quiet clarity. Now that you are here, the monk begins, his voice calm but insistent. Let us talk about impermanence, the first of the core truths of Zen. Everything is in motion, from the water in this stream to the breath in your lungs, to the thoughts in your mind. Nothing stays the same for long. You glance at the stream as he speaks, noticing how the water moves around the rocks, how it flows steadily forward, never pausing, never still. You are reminded of the monk's earlier words about the river, how it, too, is always in motion, and how it is never quite the same from one moment to the next. Just as the water in the stream flows and changes, so too does everything in your life. The monk continues, the thoughts you have, the feelings you experience, the relationships you form, all of these things are in constant flux. They are like the water appearing for a moment and then gone, only to be replaced by something new. You sit quietly, letting his words settle in your mind. The idea of impermanence is not new to you, but hearing it spoken with such simplicity, such clarity, it begins to feel deeper than before. Perhaps you think this is why the struggles in your life have felt so unending, so exhausting, because you have been fighting against this natural flow, trying to hold on to things that were never meant to stay. The monk notices your contemplation and nods gently. You understand, he says. Life flows like the water in this stream. You cannot hold on to it, but you can learn to move with it, to be present with it, to understand that each moment, no matter how fleeting, carries with it its own unique beauty and meaning. A breeze stirs through the garden, rustling the leaves of the trees and causing the water to ripple gently. The sound is soothing, like a soft lullaby that invites you to let go of the tension in your body, the worries in your mind. Now, take a deep breath. The monk instructs, and with each inhale, feel the stillness within you. With each exhale, feel the movement of life. Inhale the present moment, and exhale any resistance you may have to the natural flow of things. Let go of your attachments, your need for control. Understand that the present moment is all you truly have. You close your eyes and follow his guidance, breathing slowly, deeply. With each breath, you feel yourself sinking deeper into the present, deeper into the stillness of the garden, into the wisdom of the monk's teachings. You begin to understand what he means. The more you try to hold on to life, the more it slips through your fingers. But the more you learn to flow with it, the more you are at peace. You see, the monk continues, his voice a gentle guide through the meditation. The world will continue to change, regardless of how much you resist it. But if you learn to accept impermanence, to embrace it, rather than fight against it, you will find that the world becomes less of a burden and more of a gift. You sit in silence for a few moments. The soft gurgling of the stream and the rustling of leaves, your only companions. In this moment, everything feels still, and yet everything is moving. Your breath, the flow of the water, the wind through the trees, each moment is unique, and yet part of an ongoing, endless flow. And as you sit there, you realize something deep within you. Life, in all its impermanence, is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. The monk smiles at you, as though he has read your thoughts. Now, let us walk, he says. Some teachings are better understood in motion. You rise, and together you walk slowly through the garden, the monk continuing to speak softly, offering more insights as you move. The world around you is alive with motion, trees swaying in the breeze, birds flitting between branches, the sound of the stream carrying you forward, just as your life moves forward, moment by moment. With each step, the lesson sinks deeper into your bones, and you realize that, like the water in the stream, you too are part of an endless flow. And as you learn to move with that flow, to understand it, you begin to understand the deeper meaning of Zen. The truth that everything happens for a reason. The path through the garden eventually leads to a small stone pavilion nestled on a hillside. overlooking the sprawling valley below. The view is breathtaking. Rolling hills, dotted with forests and rivers, winding like silver threads through the green landscape. The sun casts long shadows across the valley as it begins to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange. You and the monk sit on a simple wooden bench, the cool mountain breeze brushing against your skin. The monk settles beside you, his gaze directed out toward the valley. Yet there is an unspoken invitation for you to share in the quiet peace of this moment. After a while, he speaks again, his voice as steady as the earth beneath you. Now that you have begun to understand impermanence, he begins. It is time to speak of karma, the second great truth of Zen Buddhism. Karma is often misunderstood. People think of it as some cosmic system of rewards and punishments, but in truth, it is much simpler and far more profound. You turn your attention fully toward him, eager to learn more. You have heard of karma before, but like many others, you had always viewed it through the lens of reward and retribution, a kind of moral ledger in the sky, keeping score of your actions. The monk's words make you wonder if there is more to it than that. Everything that happens in your life, every experience, every encounter, every feeling is the result of karma. But karma is not fate. The monk continues. It is not some divine force that controls your life. Instead, it is the natural law of cause and effect. It is the simple truth that every action, every word, every thought creates an effect, whether immediately or over time. As he speaks, he takes a small pebble from his robe and places it gently in the palm of your hand. Imagine this pebble is your action, he says, and imagine that you drop it into a still pond. What happens? You close your hand around the stone, feeling its smooth surface, and then you open your hand, holding the pebble above the water. The water ripples. You say, your voice quiet with realization. The ripples spread outward, touching everything in their path. Exactly. The monk smiles. Karma works the same way. Every action you take, whether good or bad, sends ripples through the universe. The action itself might seem small, but its effects, its consequences, are far-reaching. Just like the pebble, which creates ripples in the water, your actions, thoughts, and words create ripples in your life and the lives of others. He gestures toward the valley below, where the distant rivers weave through the landscape, winding their way through forests, fields, and villages. The river, too, is like karma, he explains. It does not stop. It does not choose where to go. It simply flows, continuing on its path, shaped by countless causes and conditions. In the same way, your life is shaped by karma, by the causes you set into motion with your actions, your thoughts, and your intentions. You sit with this idea for a moment, the weight of it settling into your heart. The notion of karma, as the monk describes it, feels different from the way it is often portrayed. It is not a cosmic judge keeping track of good and bad deeds, but rather a natural law, a process that links cause and effect. And that process is something you can influence, something you can work with. The monk continues, karma is not about punishing you for your past mistakes or rewarding you for your good deeds. It is not about fairness, at least not in the way we usually think of it. It is simply the truth that every action creates a ripple. Every choice you make, every thought you have, sets something into motion, and that motion does not cease until it reaches its end. You consider this idea carefully. It feels both liberating and sobering. If everything that happens in your life is a result of your actions and choices, then you have the power to shape your own future. Your past actions may have created the present conditions in your life, but you can always make different choices now to create a new future. But what about the suffering we experience? You ask, your voice soft. Why do good people suffer while others who do wrong seem to prosper? The monk nods, as though he has anticipated your question. This is the great mystery of karma. He says, karma does not always ripen immediately. Some seeds sprout quickly, while others take time to bear fruit. And sometimes the ripening of karma is not immediately visible. He rises from the bench and walks over to the stream. You follow him, your steps measured and slow, as though the very act of walking is a part of this deeper exploration. He picks up a small stone from the edge of the stream and holds it up in front of you. Look at this stone, he says. It is small, but if I drop it into the water, it will create ripples, just like the pebble in the pond. But what if I told you that this stone has been shaped over thousands of years? Every part of it has been influenced by countless causes: the flow of the river, the pressure of the earth, the elements of nature. And now, it is here, ready to create ripples in the stream. He drops the stone into the water, and you watch as the ripples spread outward, touching everything in their path. Karma is like this stone. The monk continues. It has been shaped by countless causes, some of which you may not even be aware of. And sometimes, the ripples of your actions may not be immediately visible, but rest assured, they are there, moving through the world, creating consequences you may not yet see. You watch the ripples expand across the surface of the stream, feeling the weight of the monk's words. Life, like the stream, flows with purpose. Each action, each choice, creates ripples that extend far beyond the moment of their making. The key is to understand that you are always planting seeds through your actions, your thoughts, your intentions, and that those seeds will bear fruit in their own time. Karma is not about punishment or reward. The monk concludes, it is simply the law of cause and effect. It is the natural order of the universe, just like the movement of the river or the growth of a tree. And just as you cannot control the flow of the river, you cannot control every outcome of your actions, but you can choose the seeds you plant. You can choose to plant seeds of kindness, compassion, and wisdom. As you sit with this idea, you begin to realize that karma is not something to fear. It is not something to judge, but something to work with, like the river, like the stone, like the water in the stream. It is simply the natural unfolding of life, and you are an active participant in it. The monk turns toward you, his expression serene. Now, let us walk, he says, and let this understanding settle into your heart. As you walk beside him, the evening light softens, casting long shadows across the garden. You feel a sense of calm settle over you, as though the very act of walking, of being present in this moment, is a part of the lesson itself. The monk's voice, calm and steady, guides you further into the teachings. You now understand that the karma is not a system of rewards and punishments, but the natural law of cause and effect. Every action sets something into motion, whether you realize it or not. He pauses, giving you a moment to digest his words. But karma is not always easy to see. The ripples that come from our actions sometimes take years to show themselves. The two of you continue walking along the garden path. The air is filled with the scent of blooming jasmine, and the soft rustling of leaves in the breeze adds to the peaceful stillness around you. Yet, within this tranquility, a deeper truth stirs within you. The monk's teachings are beginning to settle in, but there is still so much more to understand. Tell me, the monk says, turning to face you, what is the most difficult part of karma for you to grasp? You hesitate for a moment, considering your thoughts carefully. It's why good people suffer, even when they try to live well. It doesn't seem fair. You finally admit, I've tried to make good choices, yet life still seems full of pain and confusion, and others, who don't seem to care about their actions, seem to prosper. The monk listens quietly, his face soft with understanding. This is the heart of your question, he says. Why do good people suffer? And why do those who seem unkind or uncaring often thrive? This contradiction, as you have observed, is a part of the great mystery of karma. You look down at your feet as you walk, lost in thought. The sunlight filters through the trees, casting dappled shadows on the stone path. The monk's words have awakened something deep within you, a longing for clarity, for understanding. Good actions, good intentions, these do not always bear fruit immediately. The monk continues, sometimes the consequences of our actions ripen slowly over time. Other times, the results of harmful actions may seem to bear fruit quickly, even when they seem unjust. This is why the law of karma is not always easy to understand from our limited perspective. Karma is not like a coin that you flip, where the result is immediate. It is more like planting a seed in the earth. Some seeds take time to grow. Others sprout quickly. He gestures to the small saplings growing in the garden. See these plants. They were once tiny seeds, and each one required time, patience, and the right conditions to sprout and grow. If we only looked at them now, we would not see the full journey they have taken. We would not see the struggles, the changes, the quiet patience required for them to reach this point. You pause for a moment, considering the metaphor. The plants around you, so serene in their beauty, were once fragile seeds, requiring countless elements to thrive: water, sunlight, time, and yet they were all connected, each one part of the larger ecosystem, each dependent on a host of conditions. Just as you cannot see the full growth of these plants in a single glance, you cannot always see the full consequences of your actions. The monk says, his voice gentle. In the same way, we cannot judge others based on what appears to be their success or failure. What appears to be good fortune may be temporary, and what seems like suffering may be an opportunity for growth. He stops in front of a small patch of flowers, each one vibrant with color. In your life, you will find moments when you are faced with difficulty, You may feel that it is unfair or that it has no purpose. But remember, the law of karma is not just about the visible effects, it also concerns the unseen consequences. Just like a seed that grows silently beneath the soil before it ever reaches the surface, so too does karma work in ways we cannot always see. The monk turns toward you, his gaze steady and wise. When you suffer, it is not a punishment. It is a chance for growth, for understanding, for deepening your compassion. And when you experience joy or success, it is not always a reward. It is the fruit of past actions. Yes, but also the result of conditions that you may not yet fully understand. Your mind begins to settle on the idea that suffering is not a direct punishment for your past mistakes, nor is joy an immediate reward for good actions. Instead, they are part of the unfolding of life, a continuous flow of causes and effects that shape the present moment. You realize that the confusion you felt about life's apparent injustices may be rooted in your desire for a simpler, more immediate form of justice, where good leads to good and bad leads to bad in a linear way. But life, as the monk is teaching, is far more complex and interconnected than that. You are a part of a vast web of causes and conditions. The monk continues. Your actions, thoughts, and intentions are not isolated. They affect others and are affected by others. Just as the wind moves through the trees and the water flows through the streams, so too does karma move through the lives of all beings. Nothing happens in isolation. Nothing is random. You reflect on this as you both continue walking through the garden, the sounds of birds and rustling leaves gently filling the air. The understanding begins to settle into you that karma is not a moralistic system of reward and punishment, but the natural unfolding of interconnected causes. It is not something to fear or fight, but something to recognize and work with. The monk stops and turns toward you once more. Now, take a deep breath and feel the truth of this teaching. He says, life is not about avoiding suffering, nor is it about striving for unending happiness. It is about learning to live in harmony with the flow of life, understanding the interdependence of all things. By embracing this understanding, you will find the freedom to respond wisely to whatever life brings. You close your eyes and take a deep breath, letting the truth of his words sink in. You feel, in this moment, a deeper sense of peace, a recognition that life does not need to be fought against or controlled. Instead, it is about learning to move with it, understanding the natural flow of causes and effects, and responding with mindfulness and compassion. The sun has begun its descent, casting golden hues across the valley below as you and the monk sit together on a bench overlooking the landscape. The light shifts in the sky, the soft breeze picking up, carrying with it the sands of the mountain. For a moment, you are simply present, aware of the earth beneath you, the air surrounding you, and the vast interconnectedness of everything. The monk's gaze is soft yet steady as he speaks again. Now that you have some understanding of karma and impermanence, we must speak of interdependence, the idea that all things are connected. The law of cause and effect operates not just in isolation, but in the interwoven fabric of all existence. In Zen, we call this the web of life. You look out toward the valley, where the winding rivers meet the trees, and the mountains rise like silent guardians. From this vantage point, you can see the entirety of the landscape. Yet you also know there are parts of it hidden by the horizon that remain unseen. The view is complete, yet incomplete. It is vast, but it is only a part of something far larger. You see, the monk continues, the world is not a collection of isolated objects. It is a living, breathing web where each thread influences the others. What happens in one part of the world affects everything else. This is the principle of interdependence, the understanding that all things arise in dependence on others. You turn to him, curious. So, everything is connected. All our actions, all our choices, everything in the universe. You ask, the weight of the question filling the air between you. Yes, the monk replied, everything is connected, and not just in the obvious ways. Even what you perceive as separate, the mountains, the rivers, the people, the animals are part of the same vast network. There is no truly independent existence. The trees, the wind, the sky, the earth, they all work together to create this moment. And so do you, and so do I. Everything in the universe is interconnected, and the ripples from your actions move through this web, just like the ripples in the water. You think about the water in the stream earlier, the ripples it created when the monk dropped the pebble. The more you reflect, the more you begin to see the truth of it. If your actions are like those ripples, then every word, every thought, every intention moves outward from you, touching the lives of others in ways that may be invisible, but are no less real. The monk seems to read your thoughts. Interdependence means that every action you take is not just your own. He continues, it ripples out and affects others. What you do, what you say, how you think, these are all part of the web. Even the smallest action creates consequences, both seen and unseen. The life you live is not isolated. It is part of the great interconnected flow of the universe. He rises in motions for you to follow. Let us walk. He says, some things are better understood in motion. As you both walk along the path, the monk speaks softly, as though he is revealing a secret that has always been there, hidden in plain sight. Consider the garden we are walking through, he says, gesturing to the neatly arranged plants and trees around you. Each tree, each flower, each blade of grass depends on the conditions of the soil, the weather, the sun, but it also depends on the work of the gardener who plants, waters, and tends to each one with care. And then, in turn, the trees and plants feed the air, providing oxygen for all who breathe. They are not isolated from the world. They exist because of all the other conditions that surround them. You glance around, now noticing how every plant seems to rely on the conditions that support it. The trees with their roots buried deep in the soil, the flowers reaching toward the sunlight, the insects buzzing from one flower to the next, all of them depend on each other. All of them are part of a system much larger than any one individual. It is the same with us. The monk says, you are not separate from the world around you. You are part of this great network. this great dance of life. Your actions create conditions for others, just as the actions of others create conditions for you. The monk stops beside a small pond where the surface of the water reflects the sky above. You see the water in this pond. It is not stagnant. It moves, even if you cannot see it. The breeze stirs the surface, and the movement of the earth affects the water's flow. So too does your life move through this web of interconnection. He turns to face you, his eyes steady and filled with wisdom. When you begin to understand this interconnectedness, you begin to realize that your life is not isolated. Your thoughts, your actions, your choices all have consequences. But you also see that you are not a victim of fate, not a passive observer in the world. You are an active participant in the great flow of existence. You sit on a stone bench beside the pond, the stillness of the water before you mirroring the peace that is beginning to settle in your heart. The monk sits beside you, his presence calm and steady. Everything you do, every moment you live, creates conditions for the future, and not just for yourself, but for the world around you. He says, his voice soft but insistent, this is the profound freedom of understanding interdependence. You see that your life matters, that your actions matter, not just for you, but for all beings. And with this understanding comes the ability to make wiser, kinder choices, choices that create positive conditions for yourself and for others. As the sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the landscape, you begin to feel the weight of the teachings settle deeply within you. You are not separate from the world. You are a part of the great web of life, interconnected with everything around you. Your actions ripple out into the world, touching others in ways you may never fully understand, but always affecting them. You realize that this understanding of interdependence changes everything. It is not just about you, but about all beings. It is not about controlling the world around you, but about learning to move with it, to flow with it, to understand your place within it. You are a part of something much larger than yourself, the monk says, as though reading your thoughts. And the more you understand this, the more you can live in harmony with the world around you. The afternoon light softens as you walk deeper into the garden. The path narrows and winds around small rocks and manicured bushes, each carefully placed to create a harmonious balance with nature. The air is fragrant with the scent of fresh earth and blooming flowers, and the sounds of birds calling and leaves rustling in the breeze provide a quiet soundtrack to your journey. The world around you is still, yet alive, and you are aware of each step you take, each breath you draw. The monk guides you toward a small, secluded area at the edge of the garden. There, in the shade of a twisted tree, sits an elderly monk bent over a small bonsai tree. His hands are weathered and strong, yet they move with a delicate precision as he tends to the tiny branches and leaves. The tree is small, its trunk is thick, its leaves sparse, but there is an undeniable beauty in the way it has been shaped, the way it has been cared for over the years. The elderly monk looks up as you approach, offering you a slight, respectful bow. He continues his work without hesitation, his attention fully absorbed in the task at hand. The monk beside you gestures toward the bonsai with a smile. This is Brother Chen. He says he has been tending to this tree for over 40 years. His work with the tree is a living example of the teachings of Zen. You watch as Brother Chen carefully removes a small branch with a pair of scissors, his hand steady and precise. The act seems so simple, yet there is a depth to it that feels profound. You wonder, briefly, what it would be like to tend to something for so long, how patience, attention, and care could shape not only the tree, but your own understanding of life. The monk sees the question in your eyes. Notice how Brother Chen does not force the tree into shape. He says softly, he works with the tree, guiding it, pruning it, allowing it to grow according to its nature. He doesn't impose his will upon the tree, but rather, he understands the tree's nature and works with it. As you watch, Brother Chen gently ties a thin wire around a branch, carefully bending it into a new shape. There is no rush, no impatience in his actions. Every move is deliberate, every gesture full of respect for the tree's life and the process it is undergoing. It strikes you that the tree, much like your own life, is not something to be controlled, but something to be understood and nurtured. Right action, the monk says, his voice quiet but firm, is about understanding the nature of things and responding accordingly. It is not about forcing things to be the way we want them to be. It is about acting in harmony with what is, seeing the potential in what exists, and working skillfully with it. You consider this for a moment. It seems so simple, yet it is so profound. So often in life, you have tried to control outcomes, forcing things to happen the way you wanted them to. But what if, instead, you learned to understand the natural flow of events, the conditions that shape your reality, and then responded skillfully to those conditions? What if, like Brother Chen with his bonsai tree, you worked with life rather than against it? The monk continues, Brother Chen does not see the tree as something separate from him. He sees himself as part of the tree's growth, part of the process. He understands that the tree's growth is his growth, just as your actions and choices are connected to the world around you. To practice right action is to work in harmony with life, understanding that all things are interconnected and that our actions, no matter how small, ripple through the web of existence. You watch as Brother Chen steps back, carefully inspecting his work. His face is calm, his expression serene, and there is a deep sense of satisfaction in the way he surveys the bonsai. It is clear that he has spent years learning the tree's needs, understanding its nature, and responding to those needs with care and wisdom. The monk turns to you. In this way, we practice right action in our own lives. We do not seek to control life or impose our will upon it. Instead, we learn to understand the conditions around us, to recognize the nature of things, and then to act in accordance with that understanding. He smiles, his eyes kind, just as Brother Chen shapes the bonsai tree with gentle hands. So too can we shape our lives with wisdom and mindfulness, allowing our actions to flow with the natural rhythm of the world. This is the path of Zen. You sit quietly for a moment, reflecting on the beauty of the bonsai tree, on the care and patience it requires to thrive. You think about your own life, the areas where you have struggled to impose control on, and the areas where you could benefit from allowing life to unfold naturally, without resistance. Would you like to try? The monk asks, motioning toward the bonsai tree. You hesitate, unsure if you are ready to take such a delicate task upon yourself. But the monk's gaze is gentle, and you realize that this is not about perfection, but about experience. So, with some trepidation, you step forward and accept the small pair of scissors Brother Chen offers. You carefully position the scissors around a small, unwanted branch, aware of both your nervousness and the importance of the task. With a small snip, the branch is removed, and you step back, surprised at how easy it was. Brother Chen nods approvingly, his face soft with a quiet satisfaction. You did well, he says. The monk, watching the interaction, smiles. Notice, he says, how you were afraid to act at first, for fear of making a mistake. But you learned by doing. You tried, and you succeeded. This is how we learn. Life is not about avoiding mistakes, but about making them with awareness, learning from them, and continuing on the path. You reflect on the lesson. How many times in your life have you hesitated, afraid of making the wrong choice, of doing something imperfectly? How often have you missed opportunities because you were afraid of failure? The monk speaks again, his voice gentle. You see, Brother Chen is not afraid of making mistakes. He has learned to act with awareness, to correct when unnecessary, but always with respect for the process. Life, too, is a process. We learn, we grow, we change, and through it all, we must act with understanding and compassion for ourselves and for the world around us. You nod slowly, absorbing the depth of the teaching. Life, like the bonsai tree, is not something to control, but something to understand and nurture. It is a delicate balance of action and awareness, of letting go of the need to force things and allowing them to unfold in their own time. The monk leads you further along the garden path, his words still echoing in your mind. Life is like the bonsai tree. We do not know exactly how it will grow, but we know that our actions, our choices, our thoughts, they shape the outcome. And as we learn to understand the nature of things, we learn to act in harmony with them, to create conditions that allow life to flourish, both in ourselves and in the world around us. You walk in silence for a moment, reflecting on the lesson, and the garden around you seems to deepen in meaning. Everything in this place is interconnected, just as everything in your life is. And as you continue on your path, you realize that the key to a harmonious life is not to force, but to understand and work with the natural flow of things. The evening sun fades, casting long shadows across the garden as you follow the monk through a gate that leads to the temple's meditation hall. The atmosphere inside is cool and still, with soft, diffused light filtering through paper windows, casting delicate patterns on the wooden floor. The room is large and open, with cushions arranged neatly in rows, creating a sense of order and calm. You take your place on one of the cushions, sitting cross-legged, feeling the firmness of the floor beneath you and the weight of your body grounding you into the present moment. The monk takes a seat across from you, his posture dignified and relaxed. In Zen, he begins, his voice soft yet firm. Meditation is the foundation of our practice. It is through meditation that we cultivate equanimity, the ability to remain balanced, regardless of the circumstances around us. You sit quietly, the stillness of the room settling over you, and feel a subtle shift inside. The idea of equanimity feels both elusive and essential. Life often seems to come at you in waves, sometimes calm, sometimes chaotic, and you wonder how one might stay steady amid the fluctuations. Equanimity, the monk continues, is not the absence of emotions or reactions. It is the ability to meet each experience, whether pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, with clarity and balance. It is about not being swept away by your desires for things to be different, and not being overwhelmed by your aversions to the way things are. You close your eyes, trying to quiet your mind, but already you feel a rush of thoughts flood in. Thoughts about the day, worries about the future, and questions about the teachings. You can't help but smile at how quickly the mind becomes busy, even in a space designed for stillness. This is natural, the monk says, as if reading your thoughts. The mind is like a wild elephant, powerful, but difficult to tame. It is constantly moving, constantly seeking, constantly reacting. Our task in meditation is not to control the mind, but to observe it, to be present with it, and to return to a balanced state each time we notice we have drifted away. You take a deep breath, bringing your attention to the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. You follow the gentle rise and fall of your chest, letting the breath guide you back into the present moment. And yet, the mind continues to wander, thoughts of past conversations, future plans, little distractions. With each distraction, you gently return your attention to the breath, just as the monk has instructed. Each time you notice your mind wandering, the monk says, you are practicing. You are strengthening your ability to return to the present moment, to return to clarity. This is how we develop equanimity, not by forcing the mind to be still, but by simply observing the thoughts as they arise and allowing them to pass. Like clouds drifting across the sky, you settle deeper into your meditation, noticing the subtle sensations in your body, the slight pressure where your legs meet the floor, the warmth of your hands resting gently on your knees, the coolness of the air entering your nostrils. The more you focus on the breath, the more the world around you seems to fade into the background, leaving only the present moment. Equanimity is not about suppressing your emotions or avoiding life's challenges. The monk continues, his voice a soft anchor. It is about embracing life as it is, with all its fluctuations. When you are calm, you experience it fully. When you are angry, you experience it fully. When you are sad, you experience it fully. But through meditation, you learn to hold those emotions lightly, without becoming lost in them, without identifying with them. You reflect on this idea. How often in your life you have been swept away by emotions, allowing them to define your experience. It feels like a small revelation to think that equanimity is not the absence of emotion, but the freedom to experience it without being consumed by it. Now, bring your awareness to your emotions. The monk instructs, what do you feel in this moment? Notice where you experience the emotion in your body. Is it tightness in your chest? A sense of restlessness in your mind? Simply observe it without judgment. Let it be what it is. You sit quietly, tuning into your body. noticing the subtle sensations of your emotional landscape. There is a sense of calm, but also a flicker of impatience. Your mind wants to move on, wants to understand more, wants to do something. But in this moment, you allow yourself to just be with the feeling, to sit with the impatience without needing to act on it. Equanimity is the ability to observe without getting lost in the story the mind tells. The monk says, emotions arise just as thoughts do, but they are like waves. They rise, they fall, and they pass. When we stop fighting against them, they lose their power to control us. Instead, we become the steady ground upon which the waves rise and fall. You find yourself letting go of the need to change how you feel. The impatience in your body begins to soften as you simply allow it to be. The sense of restlessness does not disappear, but it becomes more distant, less intense. You realize that you do not need to grasp at the calmness, and you do not need to push away the impatience. They are both part of the moment, and in that acceptance, there is peace. This is the practice. The monk says, as you sit together in silence, to meet each moment with openness, to feel it fully, but not to let it define you, whether it is a moment of joy or a moment of pain. You can hold it lightly, understanding that it is only a moment and that it will pass. In this way, you free yourself from the endless cycle of craving and aversion. The monk's words hang in the air as you continue your meditation, feeling the steady rhythm of your breath, the stillness of the room, the peace that comes from simply being present with what is. The practice of equanimity begins to feel like a key that unlocks the door to freedom, the freedom to experience life fully without becoming overwhelmed by it. You begin to understand that meditation is not just about calming the mind, but about cultivating a deep awareness of the present moment, a moment that is always shifting, always changing, and in that shifting, there is a profound peace and acceptance of life as it is, without resistance, without struggle. As the evening wears on, the monk rises and gently leads you out of the meditation hall into the cool night air. The stars are just beginning to twinkle above, and the monastery seems to breathe with the rhythm of the universe. You feel a deep sense of gratitude for this practice, for the understanding that has begun to unfold within you. Tomorrow, the monk says with a quiet smile, we will continue our exploration, but for tonight, let us rest in the awareness we have cultivated. Let it guide our dreams, and let it continue to work within us as we sleep. The next morning, the sky is clear and still as you rise with the first light of dawn. The monk is already in the garden when you join him, his presence calm and steady as always. The air is cool, and the gentle breeze carries the scent of pine. As you settle beside him on a stone bench, the tranquility of the moment feels like a deep invitation to reflect, to listen, and to learn. Yesterday, we spoke of equanimity. The monk begins, now. We will explore one of the most profound aspects of Zen, how to respond to suffering. You listen closely, as you always do when the monk speaks. Suffering has been a part of your life for as long as you can remember, in many forms: disappointments, losses, moments of frustration and confusion. And yet, despite the pain that can accompany it, there has always been a part of you that wonders about its deeper purpose. The monk's gaze is steady as he continues. Suffering is inevitable. It is a part of being human. It comes in many forms: physical, emotional, mental, and it can feel like an unshakable part of our experience. But in Zen, we do not see suffering as something to avoid or fear. Instead, we seek to understand it. You reflect on his words, feeling the weight of them settle in your heart. Suffering is so often something we try to escape, something we wish to avoid at all costs. But here, in the quiet of this place, it feels like the monk is guiding you toward a new way of seeing it, a way of embracing it, of making peace with it. The first noble truth of the Buddhist teachings acknowledges that suffering is real. The monk continues, but it also offers a perspective that transforms how we relate to it. Suffering is not something to fight against, but something to understand. You sit in silence for a moment, allowing the depth of his words to sink in. The quiet of the monastery surrounds you, and the garden feels like a sacred space where the teachings can truly take root. Suffering arises because of our attachments. The monk explains, we cling to the things we love, the things we want, and we fight against the things we dislike, the things that cause us pain. It is this clinging, this desire for things to be different, that creates much of our suffering. But when we understand that suffering arises from our attachment to things as they are, we can begin to free ourselves from it. A memory surfaces in your mind, a difficult breakup from years ago. At the time, it had felt like a cruel punishment, something that was unfair and out of your control. You had clung to the idea of the relationship, the idea that it was meant to be, and when it ended, the suffering had been unbearable. Yet, now, with time and reflection, you can see the truth in the monk's words. The suffering had not come from the breakup itself, but from your attachment to the way you wanted things to be. When we understand that suffering arises from attachment, we can begin to let go. The monk says, his voice gentle but firm, this does not mean that we stop loving or stop caring. It means that we stop clinging, stop resisting the natural flow of life. When we stop trying to control what we cannot, we allow ourselves to experience life fully, without the extra burden of attachment. You think about this idea and how it feels like a shift in perspective. Instead of fighting against suffering, instead of resisting it or trying to avoid it, the monk is inviting you to embrace it, not to wallow in it, but to understand it as a part of life, a natural part of the flow of existence. Take a moment now, the monk continues, and think about your own suffering, whether it is a physical pain, an emotional wound, or a mental struggle. Simply observe it. Do not try to change it or escape it. Just notice where you feel it, how it arises, and how it shifts. You close your eyes, bringing your awareness to the sensations in your body, a slight tension in your chest, a dull ache in your stomach, a subtle unease that you hadn't noticed before. Buried beneath layers of thought, the more you resist suffering, the more it will grow, the monk says quietly. But when you simply notice it, when you allow it to be what it is, you create space around it. You stop identifying with it. It no longer controls you. You sit with this idea, noticing the tension in your chest and how, with each breath, it begins to soften. The pain does not disappear, but it becomes less intense. less overpowering. You begin to realize that it is not the suffering itself that causes you to suffer. It is your resistance to it, your need for things to be different, that keeps you trapped in the cycle. You see, the monk continues, we are not meant to escape suffering. We are meant to understand it. In Zen, we do not try to deny or repress our pain. We face it, we feel it, and we allow it to teach us. Suffering is not an enemy, it is a teacher. The weight of his words settles deeply within you. You think about all the times in your life when you've struggled, when you fought against the flow of events, try to avoid pain or grief. The monk is not suggesting that suffering is something to embrace without boundaries, but rather to stop running from it, to sit with it, observe it, and allow it to move through you. When you understand the causes of suffering, the monk says, you begin to understand that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You have the power to change how you respond to suffering. You can choose to meet it with wisdom, with mindfulness, and with compassion. You realize now that your suffering, in many ways, has been a form of resistance, resisting what is, resisting what has happened, wishing things were different. And in that resistance, the pain has lingered, unable to pass. But when you allow it to be, when you acknowledge its presence without trying to change it, it begins to lose its grip on you. The second noble truth, the monk continues, teaches us that the cause of suffering is craving our attachment to desires and our resistance to what is. When we let go of this craving, when we stop clinging to the idea of how things should be, we can free ourselves from suffering, not by rejecting it, but by understanding it, by seeing it clearly. You sit in quiet contemplation, allowing the monk's teachings to settle within you. The suffering you have experienced in your life is not meaningless. It is not something to be avoided or feared. It is, in its own way, a guide, a teacher, that shows you where you are clinging, where you are resisting, and where you can begin to let go. The monk smiles at you gently. Suffering is not an obstacle to your practice. It is part of the path. And as you learn to understand it, you learn to walk that path with greater wisdom and compassion. The early morning mist still clings to the valley as you and the monk take a walk through the fields that surround the temple. The air is crisp and cool, and the faint scent of fresh earth and dew fills your senses. The monk walks beside you, his movement slow and measured, as if he is part of the very rhythm of the land. You follow his lead, each step carrying you further from the temple and deeper into the countryside. As you walk, the monk begins to speak, his voice carrying with the quiet of the morning. Let me tell you a story, he says, a story that has been passed down for many generations in Zen. It is the story of the farmer and the horse. You listen intently as the monk begins to weave the tale. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived the farmer who had a horse. The horse was strong and reliable, and the farmer depended on it for his work. One day, the horse ran away. The villagers, upon hearing the news, came to the farmer and said, "How unfortunate! Your horse has run away. What will you do now?" The farmer simply replied, "Maybe it's a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing. I cannot say." A few weeks later, the horse returned, bringing with it another wild horse. The villagers were amazed. "How lucky you are," They exclaimed, "Now you have 2 horses to help you with your work." The farmer, however, remained calm. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. I cannot say. The next week, the farmer's son was riding one of the horses when it threw him off and he broke his leg. The villagers, seeing the injury, said to the farmer, "How terrible! Your son is injured, and now you will not have anyone to help you with the work." The farmer once again responded, "Maybe it's a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing. I cannot say." A few weeks later, a war broke out in the region, and all the young men of the village were drafted to fight. The farmer's son, with his broken leg, was spared from the war. The villagers, upon hearing this, said to the farmer, "How fortunate you are. Your son has been spared from the war." The farmer, as always, simply replied, "Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. I cannot say." The monk pauses, and the 2 of you continue walking in silence for a while, the story lingering in the air. The rhythm of your footsteps on the earth is steady and calming. The story, simple as it is, holds a profound truth about the nature of life and the way we often view the events that shape us. "Do you see?" the monk says softly. "The farmer's wisdom comes from his understanding of the impermanence of things. He does not judge the events of his life as either good or bad. He simply accepts them as they are, knowing that every situation is subject to change." You think about the story, the way the farmer did not react with immediate emotion or judgment. In the face of both misfortune and fortune, he remained calm and unshaken, recognizing that life is full of uncertainties. Each moment, each event is not inherently good or bad. It is simply what it is, shaped by countless causes and conditions. Life is like this. The monk continues. We often label events as good or bad, but these labels are fleeting. What seems like a misfortune today may, in time, become a blessing. What seems like a great opportunity may, in time, lead to hardship. The farmer's wisdom lies in his ability to remain balanced, to avoid attachment to either the highs or the lows of life. He knows that every event is part of a larger, unfolding story. You reflect on this as you walk alongside the monk. How often in your life have you clung to judgments of what is good or bad? How often have you resisted situations that seemed unpleasant, only to later discover that they were part of a larger pattern, one that you could not fully understand in the moment? The monk's words feel like a quiet revelation. Life is not something to be controlled or judged. It is something to be lived with awareness and acceptance. The farmer's wisdom lies not in avoiding suffering or striving for success, but in embracing whatever comes without attachment. Now, the monk continues. You may not always be able to see the full picture in the moment. Like the farmer, you may not understand why something is happening in your life, but you can trust that everything is unfolding as it should. This is not passive resignation, but an active acceptance of life as it is. As you continue walking through the fields, you notice how the landscape around you seems to shift with the seasons. What was once a barren winter field now shows signs of new life. Green shoots pushing through the soil, flowers beginning to bloom. The seasons themselves reflect the very nature of impermanence and interdependence that the monk has spoken of. Each season has its time, its role to play in the larger cycle of life. Life is full of changes, the monk says, his voice soft but clear. And every change is an opportunity for growth, for learning, for understanding. The key is to let go of the need to control life, to let go of your attachment to outcomes, and to trust in the process of becoming. Like the farmer, you can meet each moment without judgment, without clinging, knowing that all things arise and pass away according to their own nature. You pause for a moment, taking in the view of the valley before you, the field stretching out as far as the eye can see. It feels like a deep, quiet reminder that life is not something to be mastered or figured out, but something to be lived with awareness, with openness to whatever comes. The monk turns to you with a gentle smile. This, he says, is the wisdom of Zen. Not to control, but to understand. Not to judge, but to embrace. As the morning light grows brighter, you continue your walk, feeling a sense of peace and clarity begin to settle in your heart. The farmer's wisdom, simple as it may be, has already begun to change the way you see your own life, the way you perceive both the challenges and the joys, the sufferings and the moments of peace. Life, you realize, is not something to be controlled. It is something to be experienced fully and without judgment, trusting that each moment, whether good or bad, is part of the great unfolding. The day stretches lazily toward noon, the sun warm on your skin as you sit beside the monk in the quiet corner of the temple grounds. The world around you hums gently, the rustling leaves, the distant calls of birds, and the sound of a stream flowing steadily through the valley. The simplicity of this moment feels like a balm for your soul. In the stillness, the monk speaks once more. Today, we will discuss mindfulness. He begins, his voice soft yet profound. Mindfulness is the heart of Zen practice. It is the art of being fully present, fully aware in each and every moment, without distraction or judgment. You listen closely. The concept of mindfulness, feeling both familiar and deeply transformative at once. The word itself seems to echo with a quiet power, a reminder to slow down, to pay attention, to live fully in the present. Mindfulness is not just a practice to be done during meditation. The monk continues. It is something to be carried with you throughout your day, in every action, in every breath, in every thought. It is the practice of bringing your full awareness to whatever you are doing, without clinging to the past or grasping for the future. He gestures to the surrounding garden, his hand sweeping across the gently swaying trees, the flowers blooming in vibrant colors, the grasses bending in the breeze. Mindfulness is about engaging fully with life, without distraction. It is not about achieving something, but about experiencing the world as it is. In this very moment, you take a deep breath, allowing the monk's words to settle within you. The idea of mindfulness is simple, yet so often elusive in your own life. How often have you been lost in thought, caught in the past or the future, unaware of the beauty or the quiet stillness around you? The monk watches you for a moment, his gaze calm and knowing. Mindfulness is not about escaping the world or finding peace outside of yourself. It is about being fully present in whatever you are doing, whether it is washing the dishes, walking through the garden, or simply breathing. Each moment, when lived with mindfulness, becomes an opportunity for awakening. He stands and invites you to join him as he walks through the garden. You follow his lead, stepping carefully along the gravel path. As you walk, the monk asks, "Tell me, what are you thinking about right now?" You pause, momentarily surprised by the question. I suppose I was thinking about how hard it is to focus sometimes." You say, looking at the monk, "I get distracted easily. I can be in the middle of something, and my mind will wander off to the past or the future. It's hard to stay present." The monk smiles gently. "That is the nature of the mind." He replies, "It is like a monkey, jumping from one branch to another, constantly seeking new things. But mindfulness is the art of bringing the mind back to the present moment, again and again, without judgment. When your mind wanders, simply notice it and gently bring it back." You both continue walking, your steps in sync with his. The sounds of the garden birds calling, the rustling of the wind through the trees, the soft gurgling of the stream seem more vivid now, as though the world is coming into sharper focus. The act of walking, once an automatic movement, now feels intentional. Each step a conscious choice, a gentle connection with the earth beneath you. Mindfulness is not about controlling the mind, but about observing it. The monk continues, "When you practice mindfulness, you begin to see the patterns of your thoughts. You see how your mind moves, how it clings to the past, how it worries about the future. And with awareness comes freedom. You no longer need to be swept away by your thoughts. You simply notice them without judgment and return to the present." He stops at a small bench beside a blooming bush and sits down, motioning for you to do the same. You sit together in silence, the stillness of the moment wrapping around you like a warm blanket. The scent of the flowers, the sound of the wind, the warmth of the sun, they all seem more vibrant, more alive now that your awareness is fully engaged. Mindfulness is not something you achieve. The monk says softly, "It is not a goal, but a way of being. You do not need to strive for it or force it. You simply allow yourself to be present in each moment, just as it is. This is the power of mindfulness. It brings you into direct contact with life, with each moment, without the filter of judgment or expectation. You feel the weight of his words settle in your heart. For so long, you have been caught in the cycle of wanting more peace, more success, more control. You have longed for a life of clarity and calm, but have often found yourself distracted, pulled away from the present by the weight of your thoughts, your plans, and your worries. But in this moment, as you sit in the garden, you begin to see the truth in the monk's teachings. The present moment is all there is. The past is gone, and the future is not yet here. What you have is this breath, this step, this moment. Look at the flowers," the monk says, pointing to a nearby cluster of vibrant blossoms. Each one blooms at its own pace. It does not hurry, nor does it worry about how long it will last. It simply blooms, fully present in the moment, without attachment to the past or the future. You follow his gaze, noticing how each flower is unique, some in full bloom, others still in bud. some already starting to fade, and yet they all seem perfect, exactly as they are. In their quiet simplicity, they embody the very essence of mindfulness. Life, like the flowers, the monk continues, is in constant flux. It changes with each moment, and yet each moment is complete in itself, just as it is. When you practice mindfulness, you begin to see the beauty in each moment, in the simplicity of being, without the need for anything more. You sit quietly for a moment, taking in the garden around you, the vibrant colors of the flowers, the gentle movement of the leaves in the breeze, the warmth of the sun on your skin. In this moment, you feel a deep sense of peace, as if everything has fallen into place. You realize that, for the first time in a long time, you are truly present, aware of the world around you. Without distraction, without judgment, mindfulness is not something you do, but something you are. The monk says softly, it is the practice of being fully present with whatever is, without trying to change it or control it. And in that presence, you find freedom. You sit in silence for a while longer, allowing the stillness to deepen within you. The monk's teachings are beginning to take root in your heart, and you feel a quiet joy in the simplicity of being, of simply breathing, of simply living. As the afternoon sun begins to dip lower in the sky, the monk stands and motions for you to follow him. Let us return to the temple, he says, and as you walk, continue to practice mindfulness. Each step, each breath is an opportunity to be fully present with life. You rise and follow him. Each step a conscious choice. Each breath a reminder to remain grounded in the present moment. The evening light begins to soften, casting long shadows across the temple grounds as you follow the monk back toward the temple building. The garden that surrounds you is alive with color flowers and trees bathed in the golden glow of sunset, their leaves swaying gently in the breeze. The stillness of the world feels tangible here, as though every moment is an invitation to be present, to experience life fully. As you walk side by side with the monk, a sense of peace settles over you. The teachings of the past few days have begun to weave together, forming a tapestry of understanding that feels both profound and simple. You realize now that the key to true peace is not in seeking more, but in embracing what is already here, right in front of you, in this moment. Today, you have practiced mindfulness, the monk says softly, his voice carrying with the quiet of the evening. But mindfulness is not just something you do in meditation or when you are sitting still. It is the practice of living fully in each moment, of embracing whatever comes your way, without attachment or judgment. You nod, feeling the truth of his words settle into your heart. The idea of mindfulness, while simple, holds a transformative power. It is not about controlling or manipulating life, but about fully engaging with it as it is. In all its complexity and imperfection, the monk continues. To embrace the present moment is to let go of the need for things to be different, to stop wishing for the past or the future. It is to meet life exactly where it is, with openness, with clarity, and with compassion. You take a deep breath, grounding yourself in the present. You realize how much of your life has been spent either longing for something else or regretting what has passed. How often have you missed the richness of the present moment, consumed by thoughts of what might have been or what could be? Each moment, when you meet it with full awareness, is a moment of freedom, the monk says. You're not trapped by your thoughts, your desires, or your fears. You are free to simply be, to experience life as it unfolds. As you walk along the path toward the temple, you notice how the world seems to shift, becoming more vivid and alive. The simple act of walking, once a routine task, now feels like a sacred practice. The warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of your footsteps on the gravel, the rustling of the leaves, all of it is part of the present moment. And for the first time in a long time, you are fully here, fully aware. The monk pauses for a moment, turning to face you. The present moment is the only moment that truly exists. The past is gone, and the future is not yet here. When we cling to the past or worry about the future, we miss the beauty and the depth of the present moment. You reflect on this, the weight of the past, the uncertainties of the future. All of these things can often cloud your ability to truly live. But in this moment, you begin to see the truth of the monk's words. There is no need to hold on to the past or worry about the future. What matters is right now, this breath, this step, this moment of life unfolding before you. Let us practice embracing the present moment together. The monk suggests, with each step, feel the ground beneath you. With each breath, feel the air entering and leaving your body. In each moment, there is a doorway to peace, to clarity, to presence. The key is to simply enter it. Without hesitation or resistance, you nod, taking a deep breath and grounding yourself in the simple act of walking. Each step is an invitation to be fully present, to experience the world around you without distraction or judgment. The weight of the past and the future begins to lift, and you feel a deep sense of freedom in the simplicity of the present moment. As the two of you reach the temple, the monk stops at the entrance and turns to you. Mindfulness is not a technique to be mastered, but a way of being. It is the practice of living fully, of engaging with life in all its facets, without judgment or attachment. In the present moment, you find the freedom to be exactly who you are, just as you are. The words linger in the air, and you feel their depth resonate within you. To be fully present, to embrace each moment without attachment or judgment, is the key to true peace. You are no longer bound by the need to control or manipulate life, but free to experience it exactly as it is. The monk's gentle smile reflects a quiet understanding, as though he knows that the teachings have begun to take root in your heart. Now, you may return to your daily life, he says, but remember this moment, this practice of mindfulness. It is always with you, always available. The present moment is where true freedom resides. You bow respectfully, grateful for the wisdom the monk has shared. As you step into the temple, the world outside seems to fade away, and for the first time, you feel a sense of calm and clarity within. The teachings of Zen, simple yet profound, have begun to guide you toward a deeper understanding of life, and you realize that the path of mindfulness, of being fully present in each moment, is a path that will continue to unfold before you. The evening settles into quiet as the temple doors close behind you. Inside, the peace that you have found in the present moment is yours to carry with you, a quiet companion as you continue on your journey. The following day, as the sun rises above the distant mountains, you find yourself once again walking beside the monk. This time, however, he leads you to a different part of the temple, the library. As you approach the building, you are struck by the contrast between its structure and the simplicity of the gardens. The library is an ancient stone building, its walls thick and covered with ivy. A quiet reverence emanates from it, as though it holds the wisdom of centuries within. The monk gestures for you to enter. As you step inside, the cool air of the library envelops you, and the scent of old wood and parchment fills your senses. The shelves stretch high, filled with books and scrolls, some ancient and fragile, others more modern but no less significant. The atmosphere here is peaceful, like the temple itself, a place of reflection, of learning, and of understanding. Today, the monk says softly, his voice carrying in the stillness of the library, we will speak of dependent origination. This is one of the most important teachings in Buddhism. And in Zen, it is the understanding that everything in the universe is interconnected, that nothing exists independently. Everything arises in dependence on causes and conditions. You walk beside the monk, and he gestures to a table where a large scroll lies open. This is the teaching of dependent origination. He says, pointing to the text, it explains that all things, all phenomena, arise due to a web of interdependent causes. Nothing exists in isolation. Each thing is connected to everything else. You lean in closer to examine the scroll, its intricate characters flowing like a river, representing the continuous flow of cause and effect. As you look at the text, the monk continues. Dependent origination teaches us that all things are the result of causes and conditions. Nothing exists by itself, and everything is constantly changing, constantly in motion. This teaching helps us understand that nothing is fixed, that all things are impermanent, and that everything is interconnected. The monk watches you, allowing you time to reflect on the words. You begin to understand the depth of the teaching that everything, from the smallest grain of sand to the vast expanse of the universe, is part of an intricate network of causes and conditions. Every action, every thought, every moment is influenced by countless factors, and in turn influences everything around it, everything you experience. The monk continues, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your environment are all the result of a vast web of interconnected causes. The suffering you experience, the joy, the challenges, the opportunities, they are all shaped by conditions beyond your control. And yet, you're not helpless. By understanding dependent origination, you begin to see that you can influence the conditions around you. You can choose how you respond to the world, how you engage with it. He pauses, letting the words sink in. Just as the flowers bloom because of the soil, the sun, and the rain, so too do your experiences arise due to the conditions of your life. When you understand that all things are interdependent, you stop seeing the world as a series of isolated events. Instead, you see that everything is connected Everything has its place, and everything is part of the larger flow of life. You reflect on this, the concept of interdependence beginning to resonate deeply within you. You think back to your own life, to the moments of joy and sorrow, the relationships, the choices you've made. It becomes clear that nothing in your life exists by chance. Everything has been shaped by countless causes, both seen and unseen. The monk speaks again, his voice gentle. This understanding of dependent origination does not mean that you are powerless. On the contrary, it means that your actions have a ripple effect. Your thoughts, your words, your deeds, they create conditions for the future. They influence the world around you. Understanding that everything is interconnected gives you the power to act with wisdom, with compassion, and with awareness. You look around the library, seeing the vast collection of knowledge surrounding you. The monk's words begin to settle in, and you realize that this is not just a teaching to be understood intellectually. It is a way of seeing the world, of understanding that everything is connected. Everything is part of a larger whole. Each thought you have, each action you take, is part of that interconnected web. You may not always see the connections, the monk says, as if reading your thoughts. But once you begin to understand the interdependence of all things, you begin to act more skillfully. You begin to act with awareness, understanding that your actions have consequences, that they influence the world around you. You take a deep breath, feeling the weight of the teaching settling in. You realize that the practice of mindfulness, of being fully present in each moment, is not just about calming the mind. It is about understanding the larger web of interdependence that shapes your life. Every moment is an opportunity to engage with the world more fully, to make choices that create positive conditions, to act with awareness and compassion. The monk gestures to the scroll before you. This is the teaching of dependent origination. It is the understanding that all things are interconnected, that nothing exists independently, and that everything is constantly changing. Once you begin to understand this, you will see that the world is not something to be controlled, but something to be engaged with, something to be understood. You nod slowly, absorbing the teachings. The weight of dependent origination feels like a key one that unlocks a deeper understanding of your place in the world, of your relationship to others, and of the conditions that shape your life. Remember, the monk adds, when you understand that everything is connected, you begin to see that your actions matter, your thoughts matter, your presence matters. You are part of the larger web, and your actions create the conditions for the future. You have the power to shape your world, not by force, but by understanding and compassion. You leave the library with a quiet sense of awe. The teachings of Zen are beginning to weave themselves into your life in a way that feels deeply transformative. You realize that you are not separate from the world around you, but deeply intertwined with it. Each moment, each breath, each choice is part of the larger flow of life. And in that understanding, you find a sense of peace, a sense of belonging, and a sense of responsibility. The days pass, each one blending seamlessly into the next. As you continue to reflect on the teachings of the monk, you begin to notice subtle changes in your daily life. The lessons of mindfulness, dependent origination, karma, and interconnection are no longer abstract concepts. They are becoming threads woven into the fabric of your everyday experiences. One morning, as you make your way through the temple grounds, you notice how much more present you feel. The breeze, the sunlight, the quiet hum of the world around you, it all feels vivid, alive. You are no longer distracted by the chatter of your mind. Instead, each moment seems full of meaning, each step a quiet meditation. The monk catches up to you, his face serene as always. "How are you today?" he asks, his voice warm and gentle. "I feel different," you reply, surprised by the honesty of your answer, more aware, more at peace, in a way. "But I wonder, how do I carry these teachings with me once I leave here? How do I apply them to my everyday life when I go back to the world of distractions and obligations?" The monk smiles softly, understanding your question. "That is the true practice of Zen," he says. "The teachings are not meant to remain within the walls of the temple. They are meant to be lived, to be integrated into every moment of your life. The key is not to wait for the perfect moment, but to bring mindfulness, compassion, and understanding into whatever you are doing, no matter how simple or ordinary." He pauses for a moment, allowing you to take in his words. Take a simple task, like washing the dishes. Most people wash dishes mechanically, thinking about something else, rushing through the process to get to the next task. But when you practice mindfulness, washing the dishes becomes an opportunity to be fully present. You feel the warmth of the water, the texture of the soap, the rhythm of the movements. You bring your full awareness to the task, without judgment or distraction. In this way, even the most mundane activities become moments of mindfulness. You think about this, realizing how often you have gone through the motions of your day, absent-mindedly performing tasks without truly engaging with them. Whether it is eating, working, or even speaking with others, there is a tendency to be caught in thought, in worry, in planning for the next thing, rather than fully experiencing the present moment. But mindfulness is not limited to simple tasks. The monk continues. It extends to your interactions with others, to your thoughts and emotions, to how you respond to life's challenges. When you encounter frustration or anger, mindfulness allows you to pause and reflect, to choose how you will respond rather than reacting automatically. When you experience joy or peace, mindfulness allows you to fully embrace and appreciate it without clinging to it. The monk looks at you with a knowing gaze. This is the practice of Zen. It is not about achieving perfection or escaping from the world. It is about living fully in the world with awareness, understanding, and compassion. When you bring this wisdom into your daily life, you begin to see that life itself is the practice. You sit in silence for a moment, letting his words settle within you. You realize that you have spent so much time trying to escape the noise of the world, to find peace in quiet corners and moments of solitude. But the true practice is not about retreating from the world. It is about learning to live within it, to engage with it fully, without distraction or resistance. As the monk leads you back to the temple, he continues to speak, his words a soft guide through the ebb and flow of life. The teachings of Zen are not meant to be followed only in isolation, but in every moment of your life. You are already living the practice. The question is, are you present with it? Are you aware of each moment, each choice, each action? You nod, a quiet understanding blooming within you. The practice is not something separate from life. It is life itself, lived with awareness, intention, and compassion, whether you are walking, eating, working, or simply breathing. Each moment offers the opportunity to embody the teachings of Zen. As you return to your room that evening, you sit in quiet reflection. The teachings that have been shared with you in the past days begin to take on new meaning. The idea of impermanence, of karma, of interdependence, all of these concepts now feel like living truths, not just abstract ideas. You are no longer observing life from the outside. You are part of it, engaged in the ebb and flow of existence. You realize that life itself is the teacher. Every experience, every moment is an opportunity to practice. The key is to be present, to engage with the world as it is, without judgment or expectation. In that engagement, there is freedom. In that freedom, there is peace. As the evening settles into quiet, you sit in meditation, allowing the stillness to envelop you. Each breath is a reminder to be present, to embrace the moment fully. You are no longer seeking peace outside of yourself. You are creating it, moment by moment, through mindfulness, understanding, and compassion. And in that peace, you realize that the journey is not over. It is unfolding with each step, with each breath, with each moment of awareness. The path of Zen is not a destination. It is a way of being, a way of living fully in the world, in harmony with all that is. You close your eyes, feeling the deep stillness within. The journey continues, and with each step, you move closer to the wisdom and peace that you seek. The next morning, as you wake from a deep and restful sleep, the sun has already begun its climb in the sky, casting soft rays through the temple windows. The light feels gentle, as though it, too, is encouraging you to wake slowly, with mindfulness. Today feels different, though. Today is the day you must leave the temple, the day your journey will carry you back to the world outside. As you rise, you feel a sense of bittersweetness in your heart. The teachings you have received over the past days have become a part of you. The stillness of the temple, the guidance of the monk, the quiet rhythm of daily life here have provided a sense of peace and clarity that you've never known before. You feel deeply connected to this place, to the teachings, to the people here, but you know that the true test of your practice is not here in this sacred space, but in the world that awaits you outside the world of distractions, obligations, and the constant rush of life. You wonder how you will carry the peace and wisdom you have found here with you, how you will continue to practice mindfulness in the midst of chaos and noise. As you prepare to leave, the monk finds you in the garden, standing silently by the flowers you have grown so fond of. He approaches quietly, his footsteps gentle on the earth, and stands beside you for a moment, gazing at the blooming petals. It is time for you to return, the monk says, his voice calm and steady. But remember, the teachings are not something to be left behind here in the temple. They are with you, always, in every moment of your life. Your practice is not confined to the walls of this place. It is something that you carry with you, like a light that illuminates the path of your life. You nod, the weight of his words sinking in. I understand. You reply, but how do I continue the practice when life outside is so different? How do I keep the peace I've found here in the world of distractions? The monk smiles gently, placing a hand on your shoulder. The world outside may seem different, but it is not separate from the world within. The distractions and challenges you face are not obstacles to your practice. They are part of it. Life, as it unfolds, is the true dojo for your Zen practice. Every moment, every encounter is an opportunity to be mindful, to respond with wisdom, to engage with life fully and without attachment. He pauses, looking directly at you. The key is to remember that your peace, your mindfulness, is not dependent on external circumstances. It is found within you, in your ability to be present with whatever is. When you feel lost or overwhelmed, take a deep breath and return to the present moment. Allow yourself to return to the stillness, to the clarity that you have cultivated here. Your practice is not a retreat from the world. It is a way of engaging with it. You reflect on the monk's words, feeling the truth of them resonate within you. It's not about escaping life. You say slowly, it's about meeting it with awareness and understanding, no matter where I am. Exactly, the monk affirms, his eyes filled with quiet wisdom. You do not need to seek peace elsewhere. You can find it in the simplest of moments, in the act of walking, in the act of breathing, in the act of being fully present with whatever arises. When you practice mindfulness, life itself becomes the teacher. You feel a sense of peace begin to settle within you once more, as if the very act of being here in this moment with the monk is part of your practice. Life will continue to unfold, and while it may not always be easy, you now know that you have the tools to navigate it with mindfulness, with wisdom, and with compassion. The monk walks with you to the edge of the temple grounds, where a small path winds through the trees and leads out into the world beyond. The sun is high now, the day bright with promise. You turn to face him, your heart full of gratitude for everything he has taught you, for the quiet guidance, for the deep peace that has begun to take root within you. Remember, the monk says softly, his voice carrying one last teaching. The world is not separate from you. You are a part of it, and it is a part of you. Embrace it with all its beauty and its chaos, and live fully in each moment. There is nothing more to seek, nothing more to chase. Simply be present, and you will find the path unfolding before you. You bow respectfully, deeply moved by his words. Thank you, you say, your voice full of sincerity, for everything. The monk bows in return, his gaze kind and steady. Go in peace. Your journey is just beginning. With that, you step onto the path that leads you back into the world. But this time, it feels different. You're not walking aimlessly. You are walking with purpose, with clarity, with a deeper understanding of the world and your place within it. You are carrying the teachings with you, not as something distant or separate, but as a living, breathing part of your life. And as you walk, the world around you seems to shift, to soften. The noise, the distractions, the chaos, they all seem less overwhelming. Each step you take is a step of mindfulness, of presence, of engagement with the world as it is. In that engagement, you find peace, and in that peace, you find freedom. The journey continues, and with each moment, you move closer to the wisdom that has always been within you, patiently waiting to be discovered. The world outside the temple is bustling and loud, full of people and noise, of things that demand your attention and time. As you walk through the streets, the familiar rhythm of life feels jarring after the quiet and stillness of the monastery. The air is thick with the hum of conversations, the blaring of horn, the hurried pace of the world around you. Yet, there is something different now. Despite the hustle and bustle, you feel a calmness within you, a stillness that was cultivated in the temple, now firmly rooted in your heart. As you move through the crowds, you become aware of the ebb and flow of your thoughts, the automatic reactions, the judgments, the expectations that once defined your experience of the world. But now, instead of being swept away by them, you simply observe. The thoughts come and go like passing clouds, and you do not cling to them. You return to the present moment, to your breath, to the rhythm of your steps. In the days that follow, you continue to integrate the teachings of Zen into your life. You practice mindfulness, not just in meditation, but in every activity. Whether you are sitting at your desk, talking with a friend, or waiting in line, you bring your awareness to the present moment. Each breath, each step, each interaction is an opportunity to practice. The world does not need to change for you to find peace. You have learned to be present with whatever is, just as it is. At times, the distractions of the world are overwhelming. The demands of work, the constant pull of technology, the noise of everyday life, all of these things can pull you away from the stillness you have cultivated. But now, you have the tools to return to yourself. You breathe deeply, and you remember the teachings of the monk, that each moment, no matter how chaotic, is an opportunity to practice. In the midst of it all, you return to your breath, to your body, to the present moment. And as you do, you notice a shift. The world does not feel so overwhelming anymore. The noise of the city, the endless to-do lists, the rush of time, they all feel less urgent. You no longer feel the need to control everything, to force outcomes. Instead, you allow life to unfold just as it is. You accept what comes without judgment or resistance. And in that acceptance, you find freedom. One evening, as you sit in quiet reflection, you realize how much you have changed since your time at the temple. The wisdom of Zen has become a part of your life, woven into the fabric of your daily experiences. You have learned that true peace is not found in escaping the world, but in engaging with it fully, with awareness, compassion, and understanding. You no longer chase after external achievements or seek perfection. You embrace life as it is, with all its beauty and imperfection. The teachings of the monk continue to resonate within you. You remember his words. Life is not about avoiding suffering, but about understanding it. It is not about controlling the world, but about learning to live in harmony with it. In these simple words, you find the key to a peaceful life. The path is not one of escape, but one of integration, of bringing the wisdom of Zen into every moment, of living fully and mindfully. No matter where you are, you have learned that the path is not something to be sought outside of yourself. It is within you, in each moment, in each breath, in each choice, and with each step you take, you move closer to the wisdom that has always been there, patiently waiting to be discovered. As you continue your journey, you feel a deep sense of gratitude for everything you have learned. You are no longer searching for something outside of yourself, but learning to embrace what is already here. The teachings of Zen have not only changed the way you see the world, they have transformed the way you live in it. Your journey is ongoing. Every day is an opportunity to continue the practice, to deepen your understanding, and to live more fully in the present moment. There is no end, no final destination, only the path that unfolds with each step, with each breath, with each moment. And so, you walk forward, not as someone seeking, but as someone who is fully engaged with life, who is fully present in each moment, who is fully alive